All right, welcome back. Today is primary day in Ohio, and according to this latest Trafalgar Group poll, former President Trump's endorsement has hurled J.D. Vance into the lead in the Ohio GOP Senate primary. Vance drawing 26% of likely support among GOP voters, leading the field of one of the nation's most hotly contested primary races. But it's all within the margin of error, so let's talk about that and the data that matter and the data that don't. And with us now, political analyst and Newsmax contributor Mark Halperin, also with us, our chief White House correspondent James Rosen. Gentlemen, we're going to do it again. Thanks for playing with us. All right, so let's talk about the data that matter here. J.D. Vance, and I guess I'm going to go first, has gained 9 points since President Trump's endorsement. 9 points, gentlemen. And even though the president mixed up J.D. Vance and Josh Mandel's names into a guy named J.P. Mandel, we haven't met him yet. But anyway, the president can't really lose here because President Trump can cite a big victory. And a big bump for Vance. That's, of course, unless Ohio State Senator Matt Dolan wins. He's gotten a 12-point bump since J.D. Vance got endorsed by President Trump while nearly running away, or attempting to, from the former president. All right, gentlemen, so let's talk about this. So what's the bigger data point that's going to matter here at the outcome? The 9 points that J.D. Vance has gotten or the 12 points that Matt Dolan has gotten? Mark, first to you.
Well, Chris, the way I see it, just kidding. John, the way I see this is that people in vogue these days to get people's names wrong. Look, I think that President Trump has proven his sway in the party. Whether J.D. Vance pulls this out or not, he clearly got the giant boost. Most people I've talked to in Ohio today think Vance is going to win. I actually think Dolan could win. The MAGA vote is going to be split here. Dolan has put a lot of his own money behind TV ads, and so he's a lot like the kind of Republican that Ohio typically elects. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think Mandel probably won't. I think it'll be one of the other two. But as I said, I think President Trump's already proven that his endorsement can move Republican voters, and win or lose, that's a message I think he'll probably talk about.
Win or lose, yes. And I thought you were calling me Chris Matthews because I was kind of yelling at you in short declarative sentences. But James Rosen, what's your take on this?
Quickly.
Yeah, I'm laboring under no confusion as to the identity of the host of this program. I want you to know. I think that it's early in the process, and I'm forgetting at the moment just how many endorsements former President Trump has already issued. But ultimately, he'll be judged, I think, not just on the basis of the one race, but his entire scorecard.
I think that's a fair point. No one's talking about his 33-0 performance in Texas. They're only going to talk about the ones he loses, of course. All right, let's talk about Mark's numbers here, and I think we're going to the Supreme Court on this one. Oh, actually, my data that don't matter here. I'm going to wrap this up. $65 million being spent on this GOP primary in Ohio. And I don't think this really matters, Mark, because this is going to be the norm from here on out. Every primary race in any contested state is going to be the most expensive in history.
First of all, I'm not going to do this segment weekly with James if he's going to be reasonable. That ruins the fun. But I think what he said does make sense. Yeah, look, they're spending a lot in Pennsylvania, too. You saw last cycle, a Democratic Senate candidate in South Carolina broke the all-time record in a losing attempt to unseat Lindsey Graham, and then he got to become chair of the DNC. So I agree with you. These numbers don't matter. And, of course, in this race where you had 5 candidates, 4 in particular, spending multi-million dollars, kind of cancels each other out. I'm not sure that anybody's going to break through if you've got 5 different people spending millions of dollars on TV ads, confusing and distracting the good people of the Buckeye State.
They just want their regular commercials back. Let's talk about Mark's numbers here. We got the number 5. That's the number of justices needed for a majority. And that number can now exclude Chief Justice John Roberts, Mark.
Exactly. Look, John Roberts is proven that this is not the kind of decision that he wants to be the 5th vote on to overturn a precedent or to send the country in a conservative direction. So that 6 Republican-nominated justices matters a lot because 5's all you need. I think it'd be much better for the country, regardless of the topic, for a longstanding precedent to be overturned with 7 votes or at least 6 votes. To do it 5-4, not ideal, but just in terms of power outcomes, 5 votes is enough. And that's why 5 today, and when this ruling comes down, I think will matter more than any other number in the land, at least for the moment.
Yeah, and that brings us to our next number, 17th. John Roberts is the 17th Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. But again, because of the 6-3 conservative majority installed under President Trump, he is not really a factor in this right now, at least as things stand.